Welcome into my in the bag video. I wanted to put this together because I actually just signed up for my first tournament coming up in April, and I want to lock myself into a bag for the foreseeable future, just so I can get used to throwing the same discs. So for about the last year and a half, I have locked myself into a full Trilogy bag, mostly because I really enjoy their plastic. I like the options that I have throwing from West Side, Dynamic Discs, and Latitude. But recently, within about the last month or so, I decided to open up my bag and see if there's some other discs that I wanted to start throwing. There's no real reason for me to just lock myself into those three companies, and so I figured, why not? But I want to kind of lock myself back in so I can get used to throwing the new discs that I've added in. And I think I'm in a good spot right now. There's not a lot of holes in my bag, I feel like. So we're gonna go through what I have in my bag. But first, before talking about the discs, I'm gonna talk about my bag. My wife actually picked this up for me. It's the Trooper from Dynamic Discs. I hold 17 discs in the bottom and then 5 in the top, and that works great for me. It's not too tight or anything like that. I think it's a wonderful bag. It has a drink pocket, side pocket, side pocket, side pocket, and then it's got some loops here. Nice big towel. Some of my favorite things that I carry, so in this side pocket I carry baseball. This has saved a lot of discs that get stuck up in trees here in Oregon. So carry around a baseball, and then of course towel. You cannot go wrong with a towel. Picked up, actually got this as a gift. Nice long, this one's MVP, but I've had that bag for a while now and it's been wonderful for me. It is a little bit muddy because Oregon is wet and muddy, but that's okay. So on to the main event. What is inside my bag? So first up, I'm gonna start with my putters. I putt with Wardens, which I know is not a popular choice. I started with Judges and I picked up a Warden, and I don't know, I just fell in love with it and it feels really comfortable in my hand, which is one thing that I talk a lot about when choosing a putter, is it needs to fit well in your hand, and Wardens do. I usually carry 2 in my bag when I'm out playing rounds. I think I have 5 or 6 here at home now, so I can get more reps in when I'm practicing. But yes, Wardens is my go-to putter, not for throwing, just for putting. I'm usually inside circle 1. Actually, when I step out of circle 1, I tend to switch over to a different disc. So going through some of my other putters, these are going to be my throwing putters mostly. The PA3 from Prodigy. This disc is wonderful. This is my go-to throwing putter. It's just a straight shot. It's going to go straight and then just die. It doesn't really fade out at the end. Very difficult to turn over as well. So this has been my straight flying approach putter. This is one I just picked up, actually. It's the Dynamic Disc Gavel. This is a disc that I had never really heard of, actually, but picked it up. I was looking for an understable putter for approach shots, and this guy found me. And I've only thrown it a handful of times, but so far it's done exactly what I want, and I'm very excited to get used to throwing this a bit more. This one is a super lightweight one, and this is going to get a lot of use in my bag. So I'm very excited about this Gavel. And then the other one that I use is the Keystone. This one I usually use for those circle 2 putts, jump putts, anything within 100 feet really. This is what I'm going to, whereas the PA3 is 100 and out, usually for my approach shots. Keystone feels good in the hand, has some nice glide to it, but yeah. So those are my kind of throwing putters. I put those up in the top pouch of my bag along with usually my Justice. This is a super overstable mid-range, but I almost use it purely as a approach disc. It works great with just a basic backhand. I do not have a forehand, but I know a lot of people like the Justice for the forehand as well. I also throw overhand quite a bit with the Justice. This sits in the top of my bag because it is used all of the time. I know exactly what it's going to do, and it has become one of my best friends. So my pink Justice. So moving into the big part of my bag, I actually, or as a lot of people I know sort their bag by speed, I do it by stability. So I'm going to start with my understable discs, move into like more of my stable discs, and then overstable. So first up, this is my #1 turnover disc, the Hatchet from Westside Discs. This is a wonderful understable disc, stays true to its line pretty well, and doesn't crash back out at the end. I've noticed, but this is my go-to turnover disc whenever I've got that line because I don't have a forehand. I throw a lot of turnovers, and this is the first disc that I'll pull out of my bag when facing something like that. This is one that I actually won in a giveaway. It's got the Lucky Ace stamp on it. Discmania Essence. I haven't thrown this a ton yet, but threw it a couple of times out in the field, and it is going to be a lot of fun. I really do enjoy throwing turnovers, and having a disc like this, I've really enjoyed this plastic actually. It feels good in your hand, feels durable as well, and so I think this disc is going to get quite a bit of work alongside the Hatchet. So moving on, this is going to be, I think, the most understable disc in my bag. It is the Underworld from Westside Discs, 7.6 -3 1, and this is also a not super lightweight, but on the lighter side. And this thing turns over very easy. This is what I usually throw rollers with, but it's also, I've been trying to learn how to hyzer flip lately, and this is one of the discs that I've been able to do that the most effectively on. So this has been a lot of fun to relearn because I took this out of my bag for a while, actually, because it was just, I was turning it over and dumping it and dumping it and dumping it. And so very nice to have this back in my bag that I'm going to, and being able to throw this a bit more. Next up is the Westside Tersus. This is the mid-range understable that I have in my bag. I have 2 of these, actually. One is VIP plastic, but currently in the bag I've got the Burst. It's wet here in Oregon, and I like this more gummy feel. Gives me a little bit more grip compared to the VIP slick plastic. So this one is in the bag right now, whereas I might switch over to my other one come summertime when I don't have to worry about the grip nearly as much. So those are my main understable discs. I tend to lean overstable, so I've got more of those in my bag currently. But moving on to more of my straight flyers, these are going to be like the distance drivers. So actually I'm going to go with this one first because it's my most understable of these mid ones. This is the Captain from Dynamic Discs, Lucid Air. This is also lightweight, and so this is another one that I've been trying to teach myself how to hyzer flip with, and it's been going pretty well. I was able to actually get this over 375 the other day out in the field, which is one of my farthest throws. It is something new, again, not something that I've had in my bag for a long time and still trying to build a rapport with. But yeah, this has been fun. I think this is going to be one of my favorite distance drivers once I kind of dial in exactly what I want to, how to throw it. Moving on to my current favorite, the Westside Sword. This is my bread and butter. If I just need a straight distance shot, this is what I'm pulling out of my bag. It has been very kind to me, and I love the stamp. Great disc, very stable. I like this VIP plastic. Most of my stuff is this VIP or the Lucid for dynamic, but wonderful, wonderful disc. Next up, this is my Trespass. Call this Bowser. This is actually a gift from a friend of mine and has been in my bag since I got it. So yeah, this is a dynamic disc, Trespass. Very similar to the sword when you talk flight numbers. but this one dumps out a little bit more, I've noticed, comparatively to the sword. So I need something a little bit more stable in the wind. I will grab this versus the sword, but this will be in my bag for a very, very long time. Bowser is my good luck charm. So next up, we have the Grace from the Royal line, Latitude 64. I have thoroughly enjoyed the Royal line. I also have a Rive in the bag. I've been wanting to get my hands on the Trust, but I have not been able to find one yet, which I'm very, very upset about. But for now, this Grace has been wonderful for me. A little bit more understable than the last two discs, but still great. It has a little bit more glide, I've noticed, than the other two. So if no wind or anything like that, sometimes I will end up pulling this one out instead, just to get that extra little bit. Moving on to my Undertaker. So this is one of the first drivers that I really came to love, was the Undertaker. I have a Page Pierce one that is green, actually. Let me pull it out. And I threw the crap out of this disc when I first got it, and almost lost it a couple of times because it's green out in the woods in Oregon. And so I actually picked up this titanium. I got this titanium one, and I've switched over to this one instead, mostly because I don't use it nearly as often. But great discs, and just feels comfortable in my hand. But yeah, not a lot to say about it. I don't pull it out of the bag nearly as much as some of the other discs, but there is a hole at my home course where this is bread and butter. This is what I'll pull out of the bag almost every single time. Just the right distance makes the right situation. So, all right, so moving down into the mid-ranges, we have the Buzz. Like I said, I've been throwing I have been throwing purely Trilogy for the last year and a half. So the Buzz is not something that I've had in my bag. And as you all probably know, Buzz is one of the most popular discs. I have this one and then a max weight Buzz. But throwing it back in the bag, I haven't thrown it a lot. Giving it another try, seeing if I love it just as much as everybody else does. Moving on to my max weight compass. This is new to the bag as well, but so far I have really liked it. When in the wind, if it picks up and is starting to bluster, this is what I will pull out of my bag for a lot of those 200 to 250 range, the 200 feet to 250 feet. It will get out there, it won't turn over, so I can rip it, and it's just gonna go and fall out of the sky. It's been really great for me. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about the Buzz and this both in my bag. They feel like it's going to be pretty similar, but we will see. Moving on to the home stretch is my overstable discs. These get used a lot. I just like throwing overstable discs. I have since I started playing disc golf, and so these definitely get more use than most of the discs in my bag. Starting off with the Rive, a overstable distance driver. Gets a lot of work. It's great for those just long, normal dog leg lefts. For a right-hand backhand player like myself, this works out great. I can just rip it, and I know exactly where it's going to finish up. Great disc, great plastic, one of my favorites. Next up is my dynamic disc Felon. This is a super overstable fairway driver. It is mostly pulled out for anything that is a basic hyzer, spike hyzer, from anywhere from 150 feet to up to 300 feet. I can get this to basically land within 30 to 50 feet of where I want it to. But it's a great disc. I really enjoy it. has a very specific purpose, which I really enjoy with discs. This is also my main overhand throw disc, so thumbers and tomahawks, which I throw quite often since I don't have a forehand. Those overhand throws really can get me out of some binds and put me in good positions to save pars and those type of things. But this is my main overhand disc. Gets a lot of work. So next up is the emac Truth. This is very similar to the Buzz and Compass, but this will dump out and fade at the end quite a bit more than those other discs. This is one of my favorite discs to throw. If I'm just going out for a quick round and just want to take 1 or 2 discs, this is one that I'm going to grab. Wonderful straight line disc. I feel like I can rip it and it's not going to turn over on me, which is huge right now for the consistency of my game. So yes, the emac Truth is a crowd favorite and my favorite. So last 2 discs, this is the Gatekeeper. This is one that my wife picked up for me after I'd lost my first Gatekeeper, which was one of my favorite discs to throw. I don't throw this one nearly as much, and that's mainly because of the emac Truth. I just like the feel of the emac Truth a little bit more, but I will pull this out for some of those shorter holes, probably 200 to 250, whereas the emac is going to push past that sometimes. This is going to be a more controlled shot. So wonderful disc. I think this is one that gets overlooked quite a bit in the mid-range family, but Gatekeeper is a great disc. Really enjoy it. Lastly is the Suspect. This gets used not nearly as often as it used to. Anytime that I have to throw a forehand, this is what I'm throwing. Usually just a little flick shot, great overstable disc that's going to crash hard and not do a whole bunch on the ground. So usually if I'm doing a backhand, I'll just grab the Justice. It does very similar things. Justice just feels a little bit more comfortable in my hand, but I do keep the Suspect in the bag for those rare times where I do have to throw a forehand. This is the disc that feels the most comfortable for me in that regard, and so it will stay in my bag until I can fix my forehand. But yeah, so this is basically my bag as it stands right now. I don't see a lot of this changing for the summer, for this next year. I do feel like it's a pretty complete bag to where I have all of the holes set. Now there will be a couple of changes come like plastic type. When it comes summertime, throwing some of those VIP in plastic types instead of the more gummy burst stuff for grip, but that is the only change I foresee. This is what I like throwing. The Trilogy series in general has been really good for me, and so I do see myself having a mostly Trilogy bag for quite a while. That is my in the bag. Hope you enjoyed and was able to learn a little bit about bag construction, as well as some of the discs that you may not have any that you may not be familiar with. I know I throw a couple of things that are not traditional in people's bags, which I really enjoy because I can teach people something new. Comment down below what disc of mine is your favorite to throw. For similar content and more stuff about disc golf and also the Disc Golf Pro Tour, subscribe down below.